Greetings, Illiana community, and welcome to another episode of Illiana Insights. Lance Davis, Darren DeBoer here, kind of a little Christmas version of Illiana Insights because 'tis the season. You're really wearing it.
Yeah, I thought we were getting dressed up today.
I didn't get the
You
memo.
and your favorite Christmas blue.
My bad.
Yeah.
Told I'm very monochromatic in how I dress.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's all right.
Yeah, you got a theme.
I like blue.
What are we eating today?
Well, we were told to bring our favorite Christmas snack, so let's go with you first. Mine's pretty obvious, but
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with pretty much any Christmas cookie my mom makes.
Oh.
Yeah. So big fan of Christmas cookies. Anytime you can throw in some mint, you can throw in some chocolate, some sugar, and some butter. It's kind of a good thing for me. So
what's your mom's name?
Dawn.
So Dawn can bake?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So kudos to Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty simple. I love Oreos. Most people know that. I've told that story enough. But these white fudge covered Oreos, and will come out at Christmas time. They are amazingly deadly.
Mm-hmm. I'm noticing that box is a little empty.
I hid this for a while.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
I
that's
can't
a light
handle
looking box.
them. Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, Niels Anster brought this down the other day because he had to get rid of them. So
Okay.
he gives them to me, so I will get rid of them.
Okay.
And if I'm having a bad day, I'll destroy the box.
Yeah. It's a vice. It's all right.
It is. So white chocolate, these are great. Feel free to share your own Christmas treats. It's fun stuff.
We can try it now, right?
Do it.
Yeah.
That's deadly.
Don does it every time.
All right, so today, for the trivia question, last week got a bunch of concerts here at Illiana. Christmas concerts from the band, the choir, orchestra, all of them. They did a great job. They do a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hoping by this time next year, maybe possibly we have an auditorium for doing it in.
Yeah.
We're getting close. But my trivia question for you is, how many bands and choirs do we have?
Oh.
And for extra credit, can you actually name them?
Name them. Oh, man. All right. So we're asking the sports guy. I'm going to give it my best shot.
That's all we ask.
I'm going to think through bands first, all right?
All right.
So isn't there a beginner or an intro? There's an intro class. I know it because I've heard it. So that I know. I don't know if that's got its own name, but it's at least a class. But symphonic band.
Yep.
Jazz band.
Yep.
Pep band.
Yep.
Concert.
Wind ensemble. I'll give
Wind
it to you.
ensemble. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
There's one more. and it's-
Orchestra.
Orchestra is a separate, but I'll give you that one for its own thing.
Okay, that's kind of a bonus. So
Yep.
I kind of got one in my pocket now. I might be stumped out on bands.
Yep. There's actually two jazz bands. There's jazz and there's jazz. Vikings jazz.
Jazzy.
They're kind of separate.
Okay.
But they do a great job. So those are the bands.
All right.
4 choirs.
Women's chorale.
Yep.
Chambers.
Yep.
I know what I'm trying to think of the name. Give me a second.
I think Pitch Perfect.
Acapella.
Yep. Sorry.
I got that really quickly.
Yeah, you did.
I got that really quickly. And then there is for the youngers. Can't think of it.
The big one. Concert choir.
Concert. There you go.
So a shout out to our fine arts program and all of those bands and what those kids do and our directors. They do a great job. And like you said, orchestra too.
Yeah.
I walk by them almost every first period. They do a phenomenal job.
Not to mention before and after school,
Mm-hmm.
they're always finding time to practice. Yeah.
They're there. And actually, Kathy started the community choir this year.
Mhm.
That's doing a great job. They just had a concert a couple weeks ago.
They did.
Every day.
Sounded good.
It was. Were you there?
No.
But it sounded good. Our topic for today is kind of a I didn't know where to go with it, but it was something I've been thinking a lot about is leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And not just, I mean, we're leaders, obviously. There's a lot of people who do it. But in the world of kids,
Yeah.
we have a lot of kids who are in leadership positions, sometimes because they show leadership qualities, other times because maybe it's a sport or maybe it's like a chapel committee thing, or maybe it's a shield group or student council or officers and bands and choirs. But I guess I'd start out with, like, when you look at a kid, what makes a good student leader, in your opinion? You see a lot of this. You have a leadership council that you do with athletics. And
Yeah. And the for the leadership council, these kids are selected by their teammates, right? So they already show qualities that make them, at least to their peers, to be a good leader. I think with a lot of them, it is those that have the ability to communicate. They communicate well. There's somebody who's committed to whatever it is that they're leading, right? Like there's some sort of vision that they want to work towards, um, and then often it's those that can do what they're asked to do. Like they lead by doing things and by example.
When you see, and one of the things I think we struggle with sometimes at Illiana, and I'll take full ownership of this, is sometimes we put kids in leadership positions and don't give them tools
Mm.
to do it, and also don't give them a venue to work through the leadership struggles. Because as you know, as leaders, I mean, it's not always easy.
No.
I think people love the idea of leading sometimes, but the practical day to day aspects of it can be hard, and those tools are difficult. So, can you show like a bit of example of where you've seen students lead really, really well?
I think I've seen the best leadership with students in dealing with difficult situations where, at least in sports, where you might have a teammate who gets injured or somebody that's out for a little bit, and a leader that comes up with a plan for how to include them. I see leadership during lunch, like when you see somebody that's sitting by themselves and somebody talks to other people at the table and they invite them over to their table. Like, I think when they're put in some of those difficult situations, you have kids that look at it, and they they know what they want to do, they know what they want this to be, and then they find a way to work towards it.
I remember one of the examples, one of the things I think kids do sometimes too is sometimes mistake leadership for having to be loud.
Hmm.
Um, like you'll see it sometimes on fields or courts where the person who's supposed to be leader like
Yeah, they're
yells at
yelling.
teammates, and
Yep.
I don't know, that doesn't always land well. I mean, I don't know anybody who loves to be yelled at in front of people.
Not too many.
There's a phrase I always hear: you criticize in private and you praise in public.
Hmm.
I had a great leader when I coached basketball years ago, Dan DeYoung. I mean, he didn't say much, but man, did he lead by example.
Yeah.
And that's one of the huge things. So that we encourage kids to do is that leading by example.
And holding a standard,
Yeah.
right? You have a standard of where uh, you want things to be, and you yourself practice that, because you can't be a hypocrite and say that everyone should follow a certain standard, but you don't follow it yourself. So that's definitely step one, is that you gotta walk the walk.
Yeah, I'll never forget. When I was coaching. We were playing Wheaton Academy. This is years ago
Mm.
for homecoming, and we got drilled by a whole lot of points. But their best player, he was raining threes like it was Steph Curry
Mm-hmm.
before Steph Curry was a thing. But I remember forget whenever a kid like dove on the floor, their best player ran over and was the first one to pick him up, and the
Yeah.
first one to encourage him. And I still see that visually of how he led by his actions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess my thing is, how do we as a school give our kids these tools? Because I think sometimes I feel bad sometimes we put them in leadership positions, like go do this,
Yeah.
and then we don't give them the tools or the encouragement when they have to have those situations.
Yeah, I think you have to one you have to be able to teach, you have to instruct, but then you also have to provide like the venue for them to be able to practice what it is that you're teaching. I mean, it's the same thing that you do in a classroom, right? You have a skill that you want to teach, so you instruct and then you let them practice. But you gotta be able to provide the framework, to let them practice and work out the things that it is that you're talking about.
One of the other things I think sometimes is like you and I have both been to leadership conferences,
Mhm.
and we learn things to do.
Yep.
And sometimes I don't know if we wrestle enough with, we're always trying to do things as leaders, but who are you becoming as a leader? I think is sometimes just as important. And how to deal with those things. So one of the things that we're thinking about doing here at Illiana is after break, setting up some maybe once a month evening dinners. And I know evenings are tough because everyone's so busy.
Mhm.
But where any leader can come as a kid, I don't care where they're from, or they just want to be a leader, where we give them a toolbox full of stuff,
Mhm.
of different things to do, but also a venue of how to deal with those situations where you feel lonely as a leader, where you have to communicate on a difficult thing with somebody, or you took a stand and everyone else went the other
Yeah.
direction. Those are hard.
And I think that'd be great, especially if it's those that are actually interested in leading. Is that they can kind of talk with other people that have been in that situation. Like you mentioned, the conferences that we've gone to. One of the nice things about those is that you're with people who have gone through similar situations and have similar challenges,
Mhm.
right? And so being able to at least this, form a community of people that have that, and then work out your issues together. I think that'd be good.
And it's also be a place where kids can just be encouraged.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like to be encouraged? And I think sometimes as you become a leader, it's hard because people, well, they didn't do this, or they didn't, or you're the captain,
It's
or
lonely.
it's lonely.
Yeah.
And just a spot where we can hang out together, maybe have some food, and be like, hey, it's okay. You can do this. You can have these hard conversations, and here's the tools to have this difficult conversation to be authentic.
Mhm.
So we're
Maybe have
planning
some
on it.
Yeah. Bring some Christmas cookies,
Absolutely.
but not in January.
Not in January. Oh, yeah, it's no sugar January again.
Yeah.
So I think part of this is just an encouragement to all of our students who step up to be leaders. It's not always easy,
No.
and I see it with different groups that we have where you put yourself in a fishbowl too,
Mhm.
and that's not easy, especially for a kid.
Yeah. No, I think I'm just so impressed when we do see leaders and see the leaders that we have and people that serve in different ways. It's also part of learning. I mean, it's not always on your curriculum that you have as a school, but part of being in these situations is you have leaders that emerge, and then you see them later on being leaders in the community. And I think it's an amazing thing when you see it.
I had one the other day, and just to give her a shout out too. So Abby Ritzma,
Mhm.
girls basketball, she's a phenomenal player. My daughter was playing in a varsity game the other day and got in for a hot second and made a basket.
Mhm.
I'll never forget, after the game, she goes up to her and just gives her a high five and says, "Great job, way to go." And that little bit of encouragement meant the world. And that's great leadership.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of stuff we want to affirm and encourage, because it's not always that easy, and to be intentional about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. To be able to intentionally think about others and to go out of your way and seek others, that's a gift.
And with that, I do want to give a shout out to all of the leaders out there. I know it's not always easy to be a leader. We have people who are on church boards, school boards, your companies, whatever it is. It's an encouragement from us to you to keep up the good fight. It's not always easy. You have to make difficult decisions. Sometimes I know you look at the ceiling at night wondering.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the leadership that you guys do, and pray for our student leaders. And we're going to do some things intentionally to make sure we try and equip them and encourage them in the next year.
Good. Sounds good.
And for the rest of everybody, this will be our last one before Christmas.
Mhm.
So have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.